Recorded.
Commission meeting. Can we start off with the roll call, please?
Yes, good afternoon. If you could state your name and where you're located, please. Commissioner Bagley,
Ebony Bagley, Farmington Hills.
Charles,
Yolanda Charles, Southfield.
Herzog,
Amanda Herzog, Royal Oak.
LaFontaine,
Andrea LaFontaine, Birmingham, Michigan.
Long,
Christine Long, Commerce Township.
McGilvray,
Gary McGilvery, Madison Heights.
Nash,
Jim Nash in Farmington Hills.
Quarles,
Quarles, nobody.
Stokes,
West Bloomfield, Michigan. Lance Stokes here, West Bloomfield, Oakland County, Michigan.
and Vanderveen.
David Vanderveen and Cloudy Clarkson.
We have 10 members present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the
of
flag.
the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Now we have the approval of the agenda. We have one addition that we're going to be adding on. It'll be listed as 10, it's not on your agenda, but 10E, and it's a donation for the ORV park from Best Stop. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Chris?
I move.
Yep, I'll move it as amended.
And
Support.
supported by Vanderveen. Any discussions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And nay if you're against. Very good. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the May 5th meeting. Do we have a motion? Moved by Bagley,
Second.
supported by Stokes. Is there any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign for those opposed. Motion carries. Next is public comments. And I know we have one. LC, you're up, buddy.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So nice to see so many people. Been missing you folks, and like so many things, certainly unnormal time. So great to be here. I just want to, the one positive thing that can't change is, and we forgot to announce this earlier, and with all the distractions with COVID, but this is our 50th anniversary here at Springfield Oaks. And we're pretty proud of that. Been 50 years here. It was the youth activity center that the county provided, and we moved out here in 1971, and then became part of the park systems later on. But been a great relationship, a great run, and we're now hoping that this year we can proceed to get back to a much closer fair than what we did last year, when we were only able to have exhibitors on the grounds and actually had to keep the general public even away, which was a little difficult as a manager to tell the general public that you couldn't come in. So we've been working with staff, Sue and Jim, and our staff had a meeting with the health department. We'd presented a COVID plan almost 2 weeks ago Thursday. And that was the same day, if you remember, that the governor had been on at 11 o'clock and told about the restrictions going away June 1st for outdoor events. and that there'd even be more restrictions lifted on July 1st. And so at our meeting that day with the health department, Tony, I'm sorry, his last name eludes me right now, but said, let's move that meeting to the 3rd of June, which is tomorrow, because he said if everything that the governor said in her press conference was presented to him in writing and had become the plan statewide, that it looked like by July we might be almost fully back to normal. So we've kept working with staff and moving forward, making plans to have hopefully a very close to normal fair here at starting on July 9th through the 18th. And so we've extended our deadline. Some of our past exhibitors, I think, were afraid that we might not be able to have a much of a normal fair. So we've extended our entry deadline, which was yesterday, to June 11th, to try to get even more people to be exhibit at the fair. And we're moving forward now with that. Media Day will be that first Saturday with Desiree and Jim helping us get plans for that. And we'll certainly make sure that you folks all get invited to that on July 10th. We're hoping to have 2 county park days where you get in free to the fair with your county sticker, because Friday night we'll have fireworks. And so it's been a tradition since it's always mentioned that with your county sticker, you get into county fireworks. And so that will be on Friday. And we will be, I think, the only county facility that's going to have fireworks on one of the parks this year. And then Oakland County's special day will be Thursday. And that's the day that the carnival provider gives away free rides to special needs individuals. And we have a lot of the mobile rec equipment out for them to participate and have a great day. And that day also, people get in free with their county stickers. So we're moving forward with those. And of course, we realize that all the time that, and we're well aware that we'll be working, as I said, with staff and the health department to make sure that whatever restrictions are still in place, that we adhere to those. And we still think we can do that and still provide something quite close to normal for everyone. And so we're excited and wanted to come to mention that. And of course, as a lot of you know, I'm on the executive committee with Blair Bowman down at the Collection Showplace, and the state fair is a go also. The dates are the 2nd of September through Labor Day, September 6th. And I know on behalf of Blair and all of us on the executive committee and the staff, we certainly think it's a great thing that State Fair will be back in full flow this September. And again, we hope that we'll be getting back with you as we get closer to have more of the lineup on and inviting you folks down to that event too. So I truly believe that Oakland County will be blessed once again with having 2 outstanding fairs in the county this year. So I appreciate the chance to speak to everybody. Sorry that you won't be coming out for your July meeting out here at the fair, but I understand that. And but certainly appreciate all the help that staff has been giving us as we come through this difficult time.
Thanks, LC. Appreciate it. And for
LC.
all the,
You got any questions on that, Gary, or yourself?
I want to let everybody, some of the newer members know that if you've never been to one of the Oakland County fairs, it's in one of our fine parks at Springfield Oaks, and you can go out there and enjoy a day. So by all means, try to get out there and see what goes on. LC does a fantastic job as the director of the fair every year and has been for many, many years. And so I'm sure that everything will run smooth.
Gary, I would just add that I consider LC more than speaking from the public. After 50 years, LC, you're part of the family. Thanks for your good work.
Thank you much, Dave. Appreciate that, Gary, and your kind words. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. Okay, are there any other public comments?
At this time, there's no one else on the public comment line.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have presentations and recognitions. We have a recognition of a long-term part-time Parks employee, Dory Lund. And I'm going to turn it over to Sue.
And I will pass the torch to Mr. Jim Dunleavy. Jim?
Hi, Stu. Good morning. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to Mike Boyd, but I'd like to say a few things about Dory. I've worked with her over the past 27 years, and she's an outstanding and amazing employee. I've actually worked hand in hand with Dory on a couple of projects. We planted flowers out at Independence and at the Waterford Oaks BMX track, and it was an awesome, great day with her and her sister. And we actually have even scrubbed bathrooms and toilets together out of Groveland. So Dory can just do it all. She's just an amazing person. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike Boyd, and he's going to present her with the plaque. Thank you, Mike and Dory. Thank you, Dory.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Hey, Phil, if you want to share the screen, I'll put us on camera. If not, I'll just talk.
Just turn your camera on, Mike.
It is. Try that again. All right, should be on. All right, Dory. Thanks, Phil. Sorry. There you go. Okay. I'd like to present this plaque to Dory Lund. I'll read what it says here. She's right here next to me. Can you see my camera's in burst? So, the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission and staff thank Dory Lund for more than 27 years of service to the citizens of Oakland County. As a seasonal program specialist in charge of all of Waterford Oaks facility rentals, Dory's top priority is customer service. Whether it be setting up and making sure the guests have everything they need for their special occasion, or maintaining the gardens around the Waterford Oaks complex. With her amazing green thumb, she manages to keep plants alive through the winter to replant outdoors in the summer. Dory takes great pride in her work. Her dedication and positive attitude are much appreciated by staff and guests and myself. So on behalf of the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission, I'd like to thank you, Dory.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Dory, I'd personally like to thank you too. And this board would like to thank you for all your outstanding years that you've given to the county. So thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, that was my dad. I'm just Gary, that's all. Okay, next up we have communications, capital improvement expense summary. Jeff, you want to explain anything?
Sure, just on page 21 of your agenda today, there are no items on there for capital improvement or equipment. There is in the consent agenda an amendment with the second quarter financial forecast for a negative $35,325. And as of April 30th, 2021, your unrestricted net balance is $29,372,593.72. And that means that you are $12.6 million above your unrestricted net policy position. And that's about all I got.
Very good, thanks, Jeff. Do we have a motion to receive and file? Moved by Van Der Veen, supported by Herzog. Any discussion? Chris, go ahead.
I was moving it, sorry, so it's delayed. I think my camera's delayed now.
Okay.
I might be like Andrea, so if I shut off, I'm still here. I'm trying to keep it on.
All right. All right, Vicky or Shannon, I'm not sure who it is, but can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Vanderveen.
Yes.
Motion passes 10-0.
Thank you so much. Next, we have the consent agenda. And there's items A through M. Jeff, do you want to discuss anything?
Just to make mention again that there is a second quarter financial forecast budget amendment. What we do is usually facilities has transfers in and out between cost centers. There's also the amendments that Parks had approved second quarter, and the detail, which I've just lost. There's also an adjustment. The reason it's negative is the investment income had been down quite a bit so far. Interest rates are ticking up, so that will come back somewhat, but not to the amount we had budgeted for in 2021. That's all I have.
Okay.
I'll move
Any
it,
questions?
Gary. I'll move
Okay.
it.
Moved by Long. Is there support? Supported by Quarles. Is there any questions or discussions? Did we get a motion, Vicky?
Yes, with Chris and
Okay, I
Nancy
just
Quarles.
want to make sure that we. Okay, can we have a roll call vote then, please?
Commissioner Charles,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Getting there. Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Vanderveen,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
and consent passes 10-0.
Thank you, Vicky. All right, next we go to the regular agenda. Item A, which is the proposed fiscal year 2022, 2024 Parks budget. We have 3 items under the budget. Sue, is there anything that you want to explain?
The one thing I would offer, if we did go through the budget at the last meeting, if you do have questions, this is this recommendation that we are proposing is conceptual, but we would still answer any questions at any time. But it's pretty well spells out our 3 different budget areas as spelled out in the motion: our operating budget, our capital improvement budget, and our capital equipment budget that we would like to recommend conceptually to the Board of Commissioners for them to include in their overall budget.
Okay. Any questions? We have a motion. Oh, Jeff, go ahead.
Just want to make one comment. This budget was adjusted $25,000 for a natural resource contribution on the revenue side. So it's just a little bit different than what you saw last month. And as Sue mentioned, this is going to the Board of Commissioners. There is the categorical report and then also the categorical narrative. And that becomes part of the Finance Committee recommended budget. That's what gets reviewed by the Finance Committee at their hearing in August. And then also we have the line item budget, which is included in the county executive document to be placed on the clerk's desk on July 1st. That's it.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Is there any other questions? We have a motion then to accept all 3 parts of the proposed budget. Moved by Long, supported by Nash. Can we have a roll call vote on the budget, please?
Yes. Commissioner Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Vanderveen,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
budget passes 10-0.
Thank you. Okay, next item we have is B, letter of intent, Six Rivers Land Conservancy Turtle Creek acquisition. And Melissa, would you like to talk about this?
I would. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I also want to really quick just introduce, we've got a few additional folks here for this item today. We have Carl Schmidt, who's the president of the Troy School District School Board, as well as Nicole Wilson, who's the vice president of the school board, and then Chris Bunch, who's the executive director of Six Rivers, who you'll remember was at our last meeting talking about this item. So what I would like to do real quick is just kind of recap what we discussed last week, which was essentially this is what we're talking about is the acquisition of the Turtle Woods property in Troy. This is that 83-acre parcel that's currently owned by the school district, who purchased it way back in the 60s for a potential expansion site. They no longer are looking to develop it, but they would really like to see it maintained as a natural space or park, because that's what the community has kind of come to know and love it for. It's not been formally managed by the district as a park, but it has kind of acted as such for the last several years. It's located on Square Lake Road, just east of John R. It's bordered by Square Lake on the south, and then homes on the west and east, and a golf course on the north. So I did include a few of the slides from last month's presentation in your packets, just as kind of a refresher. So I'm not going to go through all of those again. But what I did want to do is kind of talk a little bit about what we're here for today and what the process is going forward. So as we discussed at last month's meeting, the next step in this process is this letter of intent document between Oakland County Parks and Recreation and Six Rivers Land Conservancy. Six Rivers and the Troy School District have already both signed their letter of intent. So that portion of the sort of the letter of intent agreements is done, and then we're kind of next to do that process as well. So essentially what we're looking to do is get approval today from the commission, and I'll walk through the letter of intent with Jody's help in a second. But to get that letter of intent and authorization to move forward from the Parks Commission today, it would then go to the county's ED&I committee, Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee, for their approval, at which point, Chairman McGilvery, you'd be able to sign that letter, and we'd be able to kind of move into that process with Six Rivers and the school district to kind of get things rolling. So the letter of intent, you'll find the draft of that on page 69 of your packet. And essentially, I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the components of this. I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to read it, but essentially, the purpose of the letter of intent is to just kind of provide some commitment on our half that we're going to be moving forward and taking the necessary steps to complete this project as the three parties envision it to be completed. So the letter of intent outlines the process of what that would look like. So the first step is that Six Rivers and Troy Public Schools will use their best efforts to put together a purchase agreement so that Six Rivers can purchase the property from the Troy School District. And that is subject to a purchase agreement between Oakland County Parks, where we would purchase the property from Six Rivers Land Conservancy with that trust fund grant. So the purchase price for Turtle Woods would be established based on an appraisal that Troy schools will do. It'll be done to trust fund standards with an appraisal that's approved by the trust fund, so that we make sure we're all, everybody is approving of the way that appraisal is done and the value of the property. Six Rivers will complete the due diligence prior to their acquisition of Turtle Woods in a manner that satisfies the requirements of both Oakland County Parks and the trust fund. We will pay Six Rivers a facilitation fee of $35,000. That's that same number we had talked about at the last meeting for their support and assistance with that acquisition process over the next few years. That facilitation fee is totally separate and doesn't apply to the purchase price of the property. So the purchase agreement between us and Six Rivers would contain a provision where we would agree to pay all of the Six Rivers expenses up to but not exceeding $20,000 associated with their acquisition of Turtle Woods. So that would be our due diligence, our attorney fees, the things that we typically do when we're acquiring new property. And then on page 70 there, you can see kind of the breakdown of that $35,000 payment, how we're looking at structuring that. So we're proposing that $15,000 would be paid to Six Rivers upon the execution of this letter of intent. And that would be non-refundable. I know there were some questions about that, but you know, our goal is to move forward. Six Rivers is going to be part of that process, and that you know, they will have costs involved as well and time as well. $10,000 will be paid to Six Rivers when they acquire the property from Troy Schools. So when they receive the deed to the property, we would pay them the next $10,000, which would also be non-refundable. And then item C, so the formatting's a little off there, sorry about that. But item C, if a purchase agreement is executed between us and Six Rivers, we would wrap that last $10,000 payment into the closing costs for that purchase agreement. And then that last item there just says that Six Rivers will fully cooperate and assist us with our grant application to the trust fund, which I know both Chris and I are very familiar with, and we'll, you know, we'll work together very well on that. So a couple more important points to note. That paragraph, second to last paragraph there, says that Oakland County Parks and Six Rivers acknowledge that the letter of intent is not a binding agreement for the purchase of Turtle Woods. It's also not a commitment for us to purchase Turtle Woods, and it's not a commitment to enter into a purchase agreement for the conveyance of Turtle Woods from Oakland County to Oakland County from Six Rivers. However, it is a commitment essentially to items 1 through 5 as I just kind of went through above. So it says we're going to move forward with all of these steps, but as of the signing of this letter of intent, we're not committing to purchase the property, but that is clearly the intent of the letter of intent. And that's really the meat of that. Jody, is there anything that you want to mention as part of that I might be missing or that needs to be clarified?
No, sounds good to me. I'm here for any legal questions. But no, that's exactly how we wrote it.
Yeah, and Jody spent quite a bit of time on this, and this is cleaned up just a little bit from the version I think we had shown the commission last time. So, and I know Six Rivers has reviewed it and feels comfortable with it as well. So at this point, we're just looking for the approval to move forward from the Parks Commission, and obviously to answer any questions that you might have today before we do so.
Are there any questions for Melissa or Jody? Chris?
I think, Melissa, you said that, so after the Board of Commissioners approves it, then Gary signs a letter of intent. And then at that time, the $15,000 is due to Six Rivers, correct? Is that the sequence?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
That's what
I mean, Mr. Chair, I just have a quick point of clarification. The letter of intent is going to be part of our authorization to negotiate, purchase a property. And by Board of Commissioner rules, when we do authorization to negotiate, we just need ED&I approval, not full board approval, Board of Commissioners approval. That's because we have to bring the purchase agreement. When we negotiate the purchase agreement, we have to bring it back to the Board of Commissioners and first the Parks Commission and then the Board of Commissioners. So this initial step, Commissioner Long, will just go to ED&I.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
under
not
the
going,
board
that's what I was just
rules.
gonna ask. Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. So then it'll just come out of that committee and then it goes to the full board. I get it. Thank you.
So we have to bring back another document. Obviously, it will probably be, I don't know how long, Melissa, about a year and a half by the time we get through the trust fund process.
Yes, trust fund process. Yeah, we wouldn't even apply until next.
So we won't be going to full board approval until we get the funding for the acquisition, because obviously we're not going to do a purchase agreement if we don't get the funding. So
okay,
we'll go when we get the funding and we negotiate the purchase agreement. That's when we'll go back to the full board.
Okay,
I just wanted
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because then I'll keep our caucus up to date because this has been in the newspapers and stuff too. So thank you. So about a year and a half. When we get funding for the acquisition, then after that, we send a purchase agreement over to the full board. Is that correct? Then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Perfect.
So we're
Thank you.
really, yep. No problem.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Just one, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Who owns the golf course to the north? Is that the city's Sycamore Golf Course?
Yes. It's the cities.
Yeah, it's a municipal course. All right, thank you. We ought to have a cut through in the fence, be able to play it. Kidding.
You weren't kidding, David, but that's all right. All right, do we need a motion for
So
to
moved.
sign the letter of intent?
I so move that we approve the letter of intent as written.
Okay, and it's supported by Charles. Can we have a roll call vote on the letter of intent for Six Rivers Land Conservancy?
Yes. Commissioner LaFontaine,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Gilvray,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Vanderveen,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Herzog.
Yes.
Letter of intent passes 10-1, 10-0, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, next item is C.
I would just like to say thank you to the board members here for this opportunity. I think this will be a great addition. This is terrific. Thank you so much.
Yep. Next is partnership agreements under item C. Vicky, do we take them separately or can we do all three together?
You can if you want, as long as they're all listed individually within that motion. Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, let's start off with a motion. Do we have a motion for the partnership agreements?
I'll move.
Who was that?
Yeah,
that
my
moved
bad.
it?
That was Yolanda.
Sorry about that. I
Okay.
muted the wrong device.
Moved by Yolanda.
I was going to make sure all the three individual Pontiac Foundation, Oakland Streets Initiative, Brooksy Way, and Arts Beats and Eats in my motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a support? Supported by Long? Brandy, do you want to explain any of these? I see one is a new program.
Yep, I can go over any of them with you, or as little as possible, whatever you prefer. The new one is the Pontiac Foundation and the Open Streets program. So last year they opened up blocked off streets by their parks, and they allowed kids to come out and play, and they provided activities. So it went over so well last year that they're opening up to 3 different parks this year. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, late afternoon, early evening. And so we are going to help them with 1 day a week. So we'll rotate parks each week, and that's June through the beginning of September. And so we're asking to create a partnership with them so we can provide the activities on a weekly basis for the program.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote on all 3 partnership agreements? Pontiac Foundation Outside Streets Program, Brooksy's Way, and Arts Beats and Eats.
Yes, Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Gilvray,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
Yes.
Vanderveen, did we lose Mr. Vanderveen?
I think
I
so.
saw it said he left up on that corner, on the corner.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we had to
Yeah,
leave
so I
at
don't know.
2:30.
Bagley,
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine?
Yes,
Motion passes 9-0.
thank you.
No, thank you. Okay, next we move on to proposed water park entrance fees. Sue, do you want to start us off?
Well, I think before we get into the fees, we are still uncertain about opening both water parks. We currently at Red Oaks have 32 lifeguards. This staff is working on what their potential schedule could be. They have not taken their physicals yet through Oakland County HR. And at Waterford, we only have 9 lifeguards. We do have a lifeguard training the next 2 weeks with the hopes of getting more guards at Waterford. But if we don't get any more guards, we will not be able to open Waterford. There are some opportunities where we could have swimming exercise. We could have swim lessons at Waterford. But you know, we're not any different than the metro parks. You know, every county park system in the Southeast Michigan isn't opening till the end of June. So it's our hope to open Red Oaks around June 21st. And we would like to open, if we get enough guards, Waterford June 28th. So that's where we stand with that. Okay. And I'll let Tom talk about the good news, the money.
Okay.
Gary, can I ask you a question quick before we do the money?
Sure.
Okay, so Sue, on the Waterford Oaks, if you did open it for, say, swimming lessons or something, would 9 lifeguards, or if you got a few more, be enough? And is it possible to open to Saturdays and Sundays with that staff on the Waterford Oaks? Just throwing that out there.
That's a good point. Could we open on just certain days of the week? You know, we're in a situation where we will have to be dependent on the employee's schedule of when they can work. And maybe I know that they started surveying staff of when they could work. You know, maybe it's Monday through Thursday, maybe it's on the weekends, maybe it's just in the afternoon. But we strongly feel that we want to get Waterford open, especially because it wasn't open last year. It's ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, that's what that would be, that's my goal. So that's why I just want to make sure we could do some kind of different hours or something. But I will continue to put that out there to swim coaches. I am trying for the school to get some of these swimmers to apply.
Very good.
Thanks, Chris.
Tom, would you like to add on fees?
For the fees, initially when we proposed the fees, it was based on the restrictions by the state of capacities, 50% capacity. Those have been lifted, but that doesn't mean we can operate at full capacity now. So we're still limited on our staffing. So there is going to be capacity issues, you know, within each facility. You know, Red Oaks, currently we have 32 guards in place, hopefully to start the season, but we need 65 to 70 to operate the park normally. So our features are going to be less, and currently we're looking at not opening the river to start if we don't get enough guards. That one takes so many guards, takes 7 guards to operate that at one time. So taking that the river out of the equation will allow us to operate the other 2 features. But guards are not the only issue we have staffing wise. We also have attendants and other park helpers throughout that. Just not enough staff to do everything. So trying to simplify the process and creating sort of multiple rates and dealing with issues with capacities. We're trying to try something new this year. This will be the first year we're going online for ticket sales for the water parks. In order to do that, we're trying to have everybody purchase their tickets ahead of time, and by doing that, have the incentive of a lower rate online. So the rate we're proposing would be the $17 for Red Oaks, $11 for Waterford. And if you're coming on site, then you pay more for that admission fee. That would just encourage people to come on, purchase online, and then allow us to manage our facilities better by knowing what our capacity is going to be going into those days. So that's proposing right now is those 2 rates for each facility. That would be 7 days a week for the season. Yes.
Chris?
Oh, okay, sorry. Tom, so I know we went open last year, so what year? 2019, what was our rate for Red Oaks? And for Waterford Oaks? The last time we were open?
These are the rates that are for the resident and non-resident rates that were currently approved, or previously approved for the weekend rates. So these are the same rates for we're going to use this year. So the $20 is non-resident in 2019 for the weekend, and $17 was the resident during the week.
Okay, and I think the online is an excellent idea, so, and to give the incentive of $3 off is hopefully you'll get a lot of people online, and then that would not make that line getting in so long, so that is a good idea.
Correct.
Okay, are there any other questions regarding the wave pools?
I have one.
Yolanda, go ahead.
Yeah. I just noted under the staff recommendation where it says the above water park fees that you recommend we approve them until both are at 100% capacity, and then at the top it says you anticipate you'll be at 100% this summer. So I'm just curious, as a newer member of this commission, does that mean that these prices would, in a perfect scenario, go up in terms of supply and demand?
These fees would not go any higher than these are being proposed. It's just for what allocation they're being made. 100% capacity would require another 30 guards, and our goal is always to onboard those and get those in place for the season. We're optimistic that could happen, but realistically, getting the 100% capacity is going to be a challenge this year. You know, looking at every business is struggling around to get the staff they need. So we're always trying to work to get new people in place, and that's our goal to make it happen. If we get there, then we can go back to our proposed approved fees that were in the fall. But until then, just to make the operation manageable until we get to that point.
Mr. Chair, if I may just follow up on that. And this is probably more so for the commissioners through the chair, of course, is on that wonderful report that we had a couple months back, where we had the readout of that report, and it talked about the different objectives each of us has as far as, should the parks be a profitable system? Should we break even? Should we anticipate being in the red every year? So my question, I guess, is from the standpoint of looking at it for profitability. So I just want to make sure I understand our goal is not so much profitability, more so sustain a service to Oakland County residents at a great rate to encourage them to come over to our park. Is that pretty fair?
Under our cost recovery model, the water parks are are not there to make money. You know, we always would like to, bridge the expense closer to the revenue, but we invest in our water parks. Whereas with our golf courses, we're trying to even the line because it's a special interest sport. So if that helps.
Are there any other questions?
Sure.
Jim, go ahead.
I just want to comment a little bit more on Sue's comments at the Waterford Oaks Water Park. The staff have been working super hard and getting the pool ready, and as she said, it is ready. The pool's full of water, the kiddie pool's up and running, and they've done a lot of work to the restrooms. So the pool's looking really good. I'm really happy with how hard they've worked. I know Sue mentioned that we only have the 9 lifeguards right now. Talking to Mike, the supervisor, we need about 25 to open, where we should be able to open, fully. So hopefully that's our goal. We did only have another training for this weekend, but we talked to Ryan and Mike, and we did add, like Sue said, we did add another training for the weekend of the 12th and the 13th. So hopefully that big push, and that training is going to be at Waterford Oaks, at at that water park. So we're looking forward to having that. So if anybody knows anybody that can swim or would like to be trained, that would be definitely helpful to keep us going in the right direction. I just want to, what Sue had mentioned too is, if you guys think it's a good idea, if we can't get fully open, I know we could do adjusted schedules, but we really would like to move forward with some type of swim lessons, or even bringing back our junior lifeguard program where we can start building a foundation for the future. Even if it's, we just invite those at a certain window of a time where we can bring 14, 15-year-old kids out to the pool, for a few hours for so many weeks, and start building a foundation for future lifeguards is something that we would really like to make happen if everybody was supportive of that. And, like Sue said, we'll look at all types of alternative programs that we can bring to that pool, just to get people at the pool and keeping it open. It's really important that that pool has water in it, and all the pumps and all the filters are working. And I was super excited to see that all working this weekend. So I just wanted to mention all that and thank all of staff for all their hard work, Gary. That's all I got. And thank you, Tom, for the feed.
Thanks, Jim. Are there any other questions for anybody? I have one question or comment. I'm a little concerned that if we're not going to open up the entire wave pool at Red Oaks, if we should keep the price as high as it is. I understand we're short lifeguards, and that's the reason why we can't open the play area. But that's where a lot of parents like to bring their kids, to the play area. And if we can't open that, I'm wondering, is it fair that we charge that full price for that? Any comments? Tom?
Well, the one thing we did this year with, we built the new play structure that we are waiting for final inspection on, but that does not need lifeguards. It's a new play water feature that's in the middle of the lazy river. The water slides we can do with at the top with attendants, and the wave pool would be open. So essentially the last thing to open would be the lazy river, and because that is so labor intensive.
Okay.
And with the staffing, we're going to have a capacity limit, so it's going to be less than normally it would be. So there is going to be a demand, for that space, and trying to manage the amount of people who would, want to use facility, having that price kind of offset that capacity limit. So managing, if we have a lower price, and we have more demand, and then we're not going to have a space for it, so that could be just as much of a concern, trying to turn people away from the water park.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Chris?
Gary, on one note, sorry, I cut off. I really don't think the general public, as customers and clients anywhere, are complaining about any prices. Everything is going up everywhere. I mean, I think they're looking to get outside. I don't think we'll have complaints. I think they'll be glad that it's open. I don't know where their money's coming from, but I just feel like people are just know you have to employ your employees more now. Prices went up everywhere, and I just don't think. I mean, as a business owner, we raised our prices. We haven't heard one complaint about a raise in our price, but we're paying our employees way more. So I don't know if people will complain. I think they'll be happy that the water park's open. I'm hoping. I just think that's the trend right now. So I'm thinking we'll be okay.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, I guess we need a motion then for the proposed water park entrance fees. Is there a motion? Moved by Bagley. Supported by Quarles. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. For the water park fees, Commissioner McGilvery,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
Stokes,
May I abstain, or do I have to vote?
I believe you have to vote. unless you
Okay.
have a conflict of interest.
No, I'm just a little
Only
bit,
if you make money off of the water park can you abstain. If you have a personal,
no, I
if
don't.
you
I
make
don't
money
make
off the
money.
water park, you can abstain.
I see. I don't make money off the water park. I'm just a little bit back and forth. I've listened to both sides as far as, prices going up. Prices are going up, but at the same time, I just thought it may attract more people. But I think Commissioner Long is right in saying that people want to get out anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'll vote yes.
Okay. Commissioner Vanderveen is not here. Commissioner Bagley,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Okay, water park fees passed 9-0.
Thank you, Vicky. Okay, next item we have is the one we added, E, which is the donation for the ORV park from Best Stop for an air station. Melissa?
Yes, this is a very exciting new relationship that we are building with Best Top. For folks that might not be familiar, Best Top manufactures all of the soft tops for Jeep. They're the main supplier of soft tops to Jeep, but they also sell them and a bunch of other products aftermarket direct to customers as well. So they had been kind of a target of ours for quite some time as in terms of potential sponsorship out at the ORV park. And this is one that we kind of kicked off our working with Mark Slane and Company on. They're the firm that we brought on to help with sponsorship, and they were they're not here today, but they were very, very helpful and instrumental at getting this finally through. It's a lot of work, these large sponsorships, and making everybody happy and making sure that we can do what we're being asked and settling on the right price and all of that. So we're pretty excited about this one. The sponsorship agreement is a 3-year agreement for $75,000. They'll pay it over the course of the 3 years, $25,000 a year. And what they're sponsoring is going to be an air station. They have a kind of a branding hashtag theme called Open Air that they use regularly because obviously their soft tops open up, open up to the outside. So that tied in very nicely with having an air station at the ORV park, which is something our folks have been asking for since we opened. So essentially the funding coming in for the sponsorship will cover all of our hard costs for this year to put in the air station. And then the following years, we'll still be receiving that $25,000 a year, and they'll continue to be recognized at the park for their sponsorship of the air station for the next 3 years. So we're very excited about it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the donation from Best Stop for the air station at the ORV park? Moved by Quarles.
Support.
Support by Herzog.
Oh.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
yeah, okay. Stokes,
Yes.
Bagley,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
LaFontaine,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
McGilvray,
Yes.
and Vanderveen is not here. Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we move to reports. Under A is Natural Resources Management presentation. We have Sarah, who's going to explain things to us.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of natural resources and the progress that we've made over the past year. Just as a reminder, I do also provide an end of year written report that has all of the data for the previous year. So this one is not so much focused on the data as the one that happens in December. This is more about the conceptual world of natural resources and what we're working on. So just getting started, just a reminder of the mission of our unit of parks is that we're working to manage the ecological integrity of the park. So that's pretty different from a lot of the other units within parks who are focused either on operations or recreation. Our job is to manage the ecological and natural assets within the park system. So today I'm going to talk about a little overview of the Natural Resources Department, the importance of resource management. We're going to look at some of our specific management techniques and the results that have come from those techniques, and then what's ahead for us, because this is obviously a big year of change with the millage passing last year. So natural resources will be also changing how we're working across the park system, so I will review that as well. Here's an example of a prescribed burn at Groveland Oaks County Park from last fall. So just a reminder of the assets that we have here in the parks. I think that everyone knows the acreage and some of the stats about our parks, but we also have some really interesting natural features. We have lots of different types of natural communities, including a wet music prairie at Rose Oaks. That's one of only 9 wet music prairies in the state. So we have some really unique and rare natural communities here. We also have rare and unique plants and animals. The photo on this page is a white lady slipper, which is a state threatened species that's found at Springfield Oak. So in the area between the golf course and the Shiawassee River, we have some prairie fen that has this state threatened species. We also have rare and diverse salamanders. We have an old growth forest, so a forest that was not cut or burned at the turn of the last century, which is pretty rare in Michigan. That's the Independence Oaks in the Clintonwood region of the park. And then we also know that we have part of the 5 major rivers here in Oakland County and much of their headwaters within the park system. So we're managing a diverse set of resources, and we have really unique and special resources here in the parks. So just a reminder of the value of the natural resources is that I think about them like the backbone of the rest of the park system, right? We're trying to protect and enhance the features that all of the other departments of parks are utilizing. So here's an example of our RPS staff out hosting a camp at Independence Oaks using the fishing dock. And from natural resources perspective, we want to make sure that there are fish in those lakes for people to enjoy, right? So if we're putting out a fishing dock, if we're hosting an event there, we want to make sure that the resources there to support those activities. So we know that this is of importance to our commission because it's part of our parks. We also know that this is one of the things the community tells us is important to them. Part of the reason for visiting parks is to be closer to nature. And there's also a study from NRCA that showed that 93% of adults think it's important to protect natural resources. So we know that it's something of value to both our local community and on a national level. So additionally, we often get questions about why it's important to actually manage land. And it's kind of a twofold answer. So the first is that nature gives us a lot of things that we might not see, right? We're getting that stormwater retention, we're getting fresh air and water, we're getting things that we might not necessarily always think about or know that we're getting from our natural resources, but especially in Oakland County, where 90% of the landowners own property that's less than 1 acre in size, preserving parks and natural space, so whether it's county parks, DNR parks, or metro parks, are really important as these hubs of biodiversity because they're not found anywhere else. Nobody else has these large tracts of land that they can manage contiguously. So it's important because we're providing these ecosystem services that benefit not only people who are visiting the parks, but people who are living around the parks and people who live in the rest of Oakland County. The other side of that answer is that people often ask, but why do we actually manage it, right? Why are we applying management techniques on the ground? And the answer to that is because nature is very dynamic. It's changing all the time, whether or not we can see it, and we know that it's been managed for thousands of years in other ways that we often can't do now. So wildfires often spread across the landscape, 200 or 300 years ago and in times previous to that. But now that clearly wouldn't be acceptable because it would impact human population centers. So we're recreating some of those management techniques that would have existed in the past on our lands now. And so how we actually do our management is in a lot of different ways, but it basically comes back to this natural community system. So we look at our lands as small in the larger unit. So our staff go through and survey all of our different lands so that we can make informed management decisions. So we use some of the statewide information and some of the regional best practices, and we apply that with our on-the-ground management. So we're kind of blending the art and the here, so our on-the-ground knowledge and the science of how our natural communities work. So I promise I'll get out of the planning stuff and into exciting pictures in a minute, but the last thing to focus on for planning is that a lot of the work that we do can't be accomplished just by our natural resources staff. So part of our program goals are also to increase our impact across the park system. So that includes creating new standards and practices, developing new trainings, developing management plans that can be implemented by other park staff or by other units within parks to make sure we're all using mutually reinforcing activities. We want to be working on the same style of work, and we want other people to be working with the same thought processes that we work. So let's talk about 2021 and 2020, since we obviously haven't completed 2021. We'll talk a little bit about both years in review. So for 2021, we're managing about 4,300 acres this year. So in 2020, our numbers were down. We've managed about 2,300 acres, but obviously with COVID, we had reduced staff and resources. So it's about 70% of the lands that we own in Oakland County, and we're focusing our contractual dollars, which is that $450,000, in basically 4 primary areas. So on our natural areas, which is invasive species spraying, forestry, which is tree trimming and planting, freshwater, which is also invasive species spraying, and wildlife, which revolves around our hunting programs and our nuisance management programs. So we don't have a ton of staff this year. We're down to 2 full-time staff and 7 part-time staff. That's pretty reduced from years past, but we're hoping that as we move into the next budget cycle, that we'll be able to implement some of those priorities that we've had from years past with new staff. This photo is from Lion Oaks just from 2 weeks ago. So the wild geranium was out there in bloom. We were out there looking for the new herons that have been nesting at Lion Oaks, and the forests were just full of wild geranium. So moving on to some of our management techniques, I think many people have seen this graphic a number of times, but we kind of break our work up into 3 separate areas. So first we start with surveying and inventories. We want to get the most amount of information that we can about our lands to make sure we're making good decisions. Then we're mitigating the threats once we get that information, and then we're restricting. So today I'm going to talk about 2 specific things illustrated through photos. So we're going to talk about mowing, and we're also going to talk about trees and native forb plantings, because those are 2 things that we've been focusing more on over the past couple of years. So just some 2020 highlights from last year. You guys saw this in your December 2020 report on natural resources, but just you can see kind of the downward trend, I think, in 2020 in some of our areas, that we didn't have as many staff for things like tree removals or stump grinding, but we definitely increased our tree trimming and our surveying with the staff that we did have. So we were able to accomplish lots of on-the-ground work, even with reduced resources. Some of the other things that we're always working around that aren't quite as quantifiable as our forestry and natural areas work are our wildlife programs. So we had incredible numbers of archery hunters in our parks last year. We had tons of archery hunting through the fall and into the extended winter season. And then we also work hard on our stormwater maintenance program to make sure that we are implementing our natural resources philosophies into operation. So now to get into some management examples over the past couple of years, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening on the ground so you can see the impact of the work that we're doing. So this photo is from Addison Oaks, and it shows the difference between 2012 and 2017. This was part of our winter mowing program. So in the photo on the left, you can't see anything behind the tree line. It's totally shrubbed in. And in the photo on the right, you can see all the way through to the water, and it's very much opened up. It pretty much doesn't look like the same location, but our crews are going through and doing winter mowing that makes a huge difference on the ground in terms of shrubs. Here's another example of winter mowing at Rose Oak. So if you look out on this point here, on the top left of the photo, you can see that that whole point is totally covered in shrubs. And if you look at the other one, the tree that was in that first photo, there's no shrubs anymore. And you can see all of the goldenrod and all of the native species that are coming up in the absence of those shrubs. And here's one more from Rose Oak. So again, if you look out on the point, you can see tons of shrubs encroaching out into that natural grassland. And then on the right here, you can see that it's opened up and lots of those flowers and some of those native forbs are coming back in, which is great because we know that lots of pollinators and birds and other wildlife really rely on having those diverse plant species. So we talked a little bit about winter mowing. Here's another example that you might have seen if you've been to Waterford Oaks lately. So last year we implemented landscape conversion here at Waterford Oaks with the Waterford Oaks staff. So Mike Boyd and his staff played a big part in this project, but we were able to design new landscaping for the Waterford Oaks complex that's all species. So we had a landscape designer design all of the aesthetics of the building. So they came up with specific designs that then they implemented by planting them. You can see the big trays of flats here. And then here's an example of the planted species, which are already flowering this year. Will probably take another year or two for the plants to get fully mature, but they're definitely on the way, and it's a great sign that they are flowering this year. So this is a great example of a project that kind of meets a couple of goals for us. We're increasing that plant diversity. It's also helping us with stormwater runoff and retention, because we know that our native plants have longer roots and are filtering more of the stormwater that's coming through the system. We're getting a lot of benefits from converting this. And additionally, the Waterford staff don't have to plant this every year. Previously, they were spending tens of thousands of dollars to install annuals in the spring and then mums in the fall, and they won't have that expense or that maintenance into the future once this is fully grown and in that 2 to 3 years. This year we are mulching it and we are weeding it, but that will decrease over time as the plants get more mature. So at the beginning, I promised that we would talk about the future a little bit. And so I think what the future holds for us in the budget process is that we would like to fill some of those full-time staff that we have budgeted and some of those part-time staff to increase those organizational goals that we talked about at the beginning. So some of that surveying and inventorying, and then some of the threat mitigation. Our numbers vacillate from year to year, but I think with more staff on the ground, we'll be able to make some very big strides. We also will increase our contractual funding in 2021. So that will allow us to use contractors to do more specialized technical work with staff that we don't have on board, right? If we need a skill that we don't have within our staff, that gives us the ability to get that skill from a contractor. And we're also going to increase our public outreach and materials. So we're working on updating our interpretive signage, updating the natural resources section of the website, and making more of the BMPs for the Natural Resources Department available to other municipalities. So lots of other places don't have a natural resources coordinator or natural resources department. And so if we can make some of the practices that we incorporate available to them, or just resources available, I think it will help increase our impact across the county. We're also increasing our impact across the county in a couple of other ways. One is through the Board of Commissioners, who provided us some funding for new projects, which included a native plant distribution. So we set up a one-time native plant distribution this year where we ordered like almost 10,000 plants from our native plant vendor, and people signed up for these native plant kits in just a couple of hours. We didn't expect it to be so popular, but people were very excited. We've gotten hundreds of calls and emails sent from patrons who are interested in this native plant distribution. So next weekend, we'll be here at the county market, and then on Saturday at the Red Oaks Water Park, giving out native plants. And it seems like people are very excited. So hopefully it's something we can continue into the future. And then we also have aquatic invasive species decontamination stations that are traveling around the county this year. And that's a result of funding from the Board of Commissioners as well. One is stationed at Cass Lake for the summer, and then the other is traveling around the county to other boat launches to help boaters and other recreational water users disinfect their equipment. So motorboats, kayaks, paddleboards, trying to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species. And then the last thing we'll talk about today is the CISMA. So that's the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. This is a group that started in 2014 here in Oakland County, although you can see from the map that there is a CISMA in every county of Michigan. Our CISMA is pretty unique that we have the engagement of lots of our local municipalities, which other CISMAs do not have. So we have over 45 members right now. This group is working collectively to prevent invasive species and to control them across Oakland County. So the parks will be incorporating CISMA into parks in 2021. So we already approved some of the funding, which you guys approved last meeting, for community treatments, but later this year, hopefully, or early next, we'll be incorporating the staff and the rest of the CISMA operations into Oakland County Parks to help both increase our impact across the county and to provide our technical resources to the CISMA. So It will benefit both groups, and that will be something that you will probably hear a lot more about in the coming years. Okay, are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Sarah?
I just want to comment. I'm impressed with the presentation. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, I was very impressed as well. And there were certain elements of your slides that I wanted to capture. I wasn't sure if it was available to us to keep or to have a copy.
Sure, I can talk to Shannon and see if she can get a copy out to everyone.
Sarah, if you could also make sure you send one over to Patty Dibbs at the Board of Commissioners so that she can pass it on to all the county commissioners.
Sure, yep, I'd be happy to. I'll coordinate with Shannon and Sue to make sure that happens.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments for Sarah? I don't see any. So thanks, Sarah. We appreciate it. It was an excellent report. Very interesting. Okay, next we move on to item B, which is activity participation and program review and day use park report. And that comes from Mr. Dunleavy, Mr. Hughes, and Ms. Boyd.
Jim?
Looks like it's me on the ORV park. As you know, we did open the ORV park up on April 10th. We had a pretty good weekend that first weekend. It kind of slowed up for the next few weekends, but as we progress towards Memorial Day, we've been averaging about 300 to 400 vehicles per weekend. So things are looking a lot better. We have had to deal with a lot of different issues with the dust and the noise, and staff have just done an amazing job working through that. And it's awesome when it rains too, so that helped for this last weekend. But we're doing the sound checks. We've added a irrigation system that will be up and running here soon, and we've added an irrigation truck that we're actually able to fill up in seconds and then get that out of the areas where we can control the dust. So next slide. The day use parks, we did open 2 beaches this weekend. Hidden Beach at Independence opened this weekend, and Stewart Lake at Groveland. Hidden Beach was closed most of the summer last year because of the geese. Hopefully we've done a good job of managing that. Our counts are still not as low as we'd like to be, but as of right now, we're still open. Stewart Lake, that's just the beach at Groveland Oaks. We didn't have a lot of people using the beach because it was so cold this weekend, but we were ready and open for them. We did add a new ADA ramp that goes down to the water, and that really turned out nice. Thanks to Colin and Mike Donovan's crew for making that happen. The dog parks still continue to be very, very busy. We're still working through some issues at the dog park, especially at Orient Oaks, with people not having licenses and things like that. But the sheriff's department has done an amazing job and also animal control. They've really done probably one of the best jobs they've ever done in helping us, manage that. And they're doing. I can't thank them enough. At Rose Oaks, there seems to be a very huge demand for horseback riding out there, and we're bringing in a lot more trailers than we've ever seen out there. So we've actually had to expand the lot a little bit to accommodate them. And the groups that are coming out have been super happy with the supervisor currently there now is Mike Boyd, who's just done a great job. And Brandy put that last one on the bottom, the DIA Art in the Park. Assuming that's starting, Brandy, here soon.
Yep, they're starting to do installations in the beginning of June, so right around now, and they'll I think we're scheduled towards the end of June. So we'll have 10 pieces on our parks this year.
Sounds good. All right, next slide. Tom, are you ready?
Yep, ready. So golf, we're benefiting this year from some really good weather, plus our increase in rates from all the studies we did with the consultant is really benefiting the golf operations. Last year, we didn't open the golf courses until May 1st. And at this point last year, at end of May, we had 22,000 starts. And this year, we have 43,000 starts. So just participation just from last year, this year, it's significant. And in 2019, when we had a normal operating start time, we're at 27,000 starts. So we're far exceeding the amount of play we're getting even during our normal operating times. And revenue-wise, we have really good revenues. The golf course overall from last year at this point are about $1.4 million higher than they were last year, and about $700,000 from 2019. And there hasn't been a lot of kickback from the rate increases either. And the largest one was the senior rates. There's a lot of feedback from that, but you look at all the numbers, the amount of seniors that are still playing our courses, it's still 30% of our golfers are seniors, and that hasn't changed even with the rate increases. So maybe there's some different groups playing, but there's still the same percentage of golfers are still seniors. So overall, it's been great, and the courses are in great shape, and it's been busy.
I talked to Lori Cooper, the supervisor at Springfield yesterday, and she never seen so many golfers out at Springfield for the holiday weekend. We definitely broke records. Parking lot was full, every cart in the barn was out. So they did a really good job on golf and food and beverage too. So they had an outstanding weekend.
Yeah, for the campgrounds too, they've been it's been like a holiday weekend every weekend. They've been full. Going to Thursdays, and they're packed, and it's carried over from last year. It was a busy year last year, and we've seen that continue, which is a good thing. A little bit harder on staff, but it's good to see the parks busy and people continuing to come out to the parks. And Memorial Day was no exception. It was a little crazy at times, and a couple of incidents here and there, but overall, again, very busy. One thing we're moving forward with, we haven't done yet, is the online reservations, and hopefully with the next couple of weeks, there's a new component added to the campground operations, having that implemented so we can get another avenue for users to use our park system.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go out to Groveland on Saturday this last weekend, and Randy had her equipment out there, and it was just amazing to see all the kids waiting in line, and just so many kids. I haven't seen that many kids at the campground, in a long time, and it was just really, really great to see. They had a great campground rec program this weekend, and everybody did an outstanding job. It was just nice to see, good size crowds. So happy to see that. Next slide.
Water parks we discussed before. We're looking at the 21st of June for Red Oaks and 28th for Waterford, and hopefully everybody lines up with staffing. Hours are going to be 11 to 7, 7 days a week, and promoting the online sales and limited concessions. So a lot of factors still going into this operation, but that's kind of where we're at right now until we get more staff in place and get closer to that date of really opening the park.
I have to unmute. So for mobile recreation, these numbers are January through May 31st, so through Memorial Day weekend. So for the RAP program, so far to date, we're right around $60,000, which is lower than say 2019, but already higher than what we did all of last year. That does not include our nature visits. We don't get those numbers until the end of the season. So we're probably more like 65,000. So I don't know that we'll hit the 200,000 mark this year, but we certainly are trying to do as much as possible we do have some staffing limitations. We are getting visits out there, and our rec staff is being trained next week. And we're already full force this week. We have visits every day. It just kind of picks up as we go on. So we have visits almost daily, but we usually have multiple visits daily. But with our staff shortage, we're trying to do as many visits as possible. Go ahead, Phil. So Oaks on the Road is one of the programs we did last year to try to supplement not having a day camp and having limited programming opportunities for our communities. So we created Oaks on the Road, and then we did that throughout the winter as well. And so winter, we did winter activities with snowshoeing and snow art. And we went to several communities. We served just under 450 people, participants. And we were pretty much all over the county: Huntington Woods, Oakland Township, Holly. We were down the Hazel Park, Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, Southfield. So we went to many visits. Our spring and summer is pretty much filled with them. I know the month of July, we have one every day. And in June, we have several of them, and the same in August. So we are almost booked daily with this program for the summer. Go ahead, Phil. So Quest for Adventure is one of the programs we started doing last summer to help the communities out and provide a family activity where people could go and recreate and have some fun and not have to worry about other families around. And so we did scavenger hunts, and we did them with 8 different communities, and we had right around 600 people participate. And we did them in Ferndale, Hazel Park, Pontiac, Berkeley, Southfield, Huntington Woods, Pleasant Ridge, Waterford. And we have several planned for the summer and into the fall. And then our adult programs, we did those virtual. Carol Egbo, she had 4 over the last season, and she had over 116 people participate. Her next one is in Birmingham with the seniors. So a lot of senior centers are not open yet, and they probably won't be over the summer. So we are still doing a lot of her programs virtually. And then we're also doing the Trailblazer series. We did a winter one, and we had 41 attendees. So we continued to do a lot of our active adult programming that we could that was outside. And so those were very popular again this past season. And then our archery range opened up May 5th, and we're open Wednesday through Friday out at Independence Oaks. We also have a mobile archery unit. So far that's went out once this year. We had 130 kids participate. We started doing rentals, and we've had 2 so far, a Girl Scout group and a birthday party. And then our archery classes began June 29th. Nature centers, we've been full blown doing programming all last summer and into the winter. We did several programs that were all outside, and they were all heavily attended. So we had field trips, and we had nature discoveries. We did virtual take and makes where we provided them directions and the supplies, and they picked them up and did them. We did a video where they could watch the video. And then we also did videos highlighting like animal tracks, groundhogs, Earth Day, the World Turtle Day. We did a turtle race. It was cute. And then we did a toad video because May is Toad Month. Also had our public interpretive programs. Again, these were all outside, and we had about 20 of them at each of the 2 nature centers. So staff's been working really hard trying to accommodate new protocols and still trying to provide programming. And I can't say what a great staff and what they've done. And so I just really appreciate all the hard work and all the recreating that they've had to do. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for any of the 3? I have one question for you, Ms. Boyd. You didn't mention anything about like the jazz festival and the barbecue. Will that be happening this year?
No, the barbecue battle, they were gonna try to do, and then they canceled it, or postponed it, I should say. So I think that will be, I think they postponed it to August or September. It was gonna be on June 19th, I think it was. So that is postponed, and then the jazz festival, that is also postponed at least one more year until we know what numbers and safety protocols. Because we had to book the acts a lot earlier, and without knowing what the protocols would be for the summer, we chose to take one more summer off.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Presentation.
Hearing none, great report from all of you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, next we move on to the executive officer's report. Sue?
I'll make it quick, but just a couple things I want to highlight is June 26th at 10 a.m. and I will send out an email on this. Beginning at 10 a.m. is the dedication for Normandy Oaks Park in Royal Oak. It goes from 10 until 2. We will get more information out to you in regards to that. Our next Park Commission meeting, we are going to hold in Madison Heights at the City Hall. They have offered to host us in the council chambers, of which we will be socially distanced. But what we would like to do is beforehand, starting at 12, take the commissioners that would like to go on a tour of the Red Oaks complex, the dog park, the water park, the golf course, soccer complex, and I'm forgetting one, but nature center. So we would meet you there at 12, and more information will come about because of that. And if people still have energy, if they would like to see Turtle Woods, we would make a one-on-one visit with you, or we could go after the commission meeting. So that is available. The one thing that I want to bring to your attention is the annual vehicle permits. As part of the millage, one of our initiatives was to give out free annual vehicle permits to seniors, military veterans, and individuals with permanent disability. And at the time we decided that, I think we really didn't have a gauge on how many we would give out. Well, as of last week, we gave over 5,500 annual vehicle permits to individuals, which is an investment of about $110,000. Now, we don't know if each one of those people will use it, but at least it gets them in our park. And it's a wonderful opportunity that we're providing the residents of Oakland County. So we had to order more passes, but it's a good problem to have. So any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them anytime, but that's it for this.
Question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, I got a memo dated May 24th, and I just wanted clarification on this because you just mentioned it and you're just sending out a memo. I was confused from the May 24th memo. This is about, you're saying you're moving the July 14th commission meeting to July 7th?
Correct.
And then the meeting is going to be held at the Madison Heights City Hall?
Correct.
Council chambers. That is still going to be held there. Is that correct? Or was that moved to a virtual meeting?
That is going to be held at the Madison Heights City Council chambers.
Okay. So, and that's on July 7th.
Correct.
What is on July 14th that the meeting was moved?
We were tentatively going to have it at the fairgrounds, But for those who have been out there, the acoustics are horrible at the fairgrounds. And so we chose to move it. But Elsie still will want you to be a guest, you and your family to be a guest out there at the fair, and I'm certain he will accommodate you. So,
And that's between the fair, is that any time between July 9th and July 18th, or is there a specific date we're supposed to be at the fairgrounds?
it's any time between those dates. However, there is a media day at the fairgrounds, of which you will be invited to, which is July 10th.
And so that information is forthcoming, right?
Correct.
Okay, I think I have it. Thank you
It's
very much.
confusing, I understand.
Is there any other questions for Sue? Hearing none, we'll move on to the executive committee update. Just briefly, we talked about one of the items that's still coming up under old business or unfinished business, and that's Oak Management. We discussed that pretty well at length. We also talked briefly about the lifeguard situation and opening of the wave pools and how we might be able to do that. And as you can see from today's meetings, that's still kind of up in the air. Hopefully we can get that ironed out so that we can be under full operation in the wave pools. I think that's about all we talked about, right, Sue?
That about covered it, yes.
Okay. Next, we move on to the Oakland County Parks and Recreation Director recruitment. Sue, do you want to go over that?
Certainly. On page 104 is a report from GovHR, the recruiting firm that is searching for the new Parks and Rec director. As of May 24, they had 67 applicants. The job closes today, I believe. And it spells out the next steps. I know that the next step will be meeting with Commissioner McGilvery and the subcommittee as to go over these applications and then set up the next phase of interviews and so on. So I've been impressed by the company.
Yeah, I think
Will you go over all of those resumes, those 67, or do you have one of those bot programs, one of those computer programs go through and eliminate down to maybe 20 or so?
It'll be limited down to, I think 10, or thereabouts. Mr. James will be the one taking care of that, Vetrano. And he's gonna kind of pare it down, and then we'll interview those folks. I'm sure, excuse me, that we'll be able to see all 67 applications. But we're letting him do all the legwork to try to get the best qualified candidate. So that's how we're going to be doing it, I think.
Yeah, I'm just always concerned with the artificial intelligence. It may be a good idea for some things, but it eliminates on superfluous issues, and good people get caught. So that on some things, such as if they have bullet points on their resume and they're not lined up, they get pushed out, these application software packages.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm curious as to whether human eyes will look at resumes or if it's going to be bots. And bots is my short for robots.
He personally is going through them, and the weight factor that he's using is the information that the commission and staff and other people he spoke to in what you are looking for in a Parks and Recreation director. So those are the factors that he is weighing.
Good. I'm pleased that there's human eyes on them and making that decision. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Sue regarding that or myself.
Gary?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gary, real quick, I don't know if you can hear me. My internet's really bad, but I agree with Lance. I was going to ask that also, just to make sure someone's going through all the applicants. And then, like we do, like I used to for general government, and then go through them and then just interview the ones, whatever your top, are you gonna do your top 10, did you say?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact number, Chris, but I think it was
Okay,
either
but you're
that
doing
or-
it that way. So I am also glad to hear that, because you can miss, sometimes people on paper don't sound good and you have to get that human eye, and sometimes if they're iffy, you bring them in and they're wonderful. So I agree.
And we have a committee that's all set to be part of that process. So hopefully we can get this done as soon as possible once we get everything together and move forward from there. Okay, next item we have is old business, and that's a proposed Oak Management outstanding debt assessment. And I'll turn it over to Sue and Phil.
We've had a couple meetings with Oak Management in regards to the debt of which they owe. And Phil, you want to bring them up to speed? I think we're at a very good point in where we have negotiated, in that it may not be the best picture, but at least it's something. And there's some changes to the contract that will benefit us in regards to be putting the utilities in Oakland County, in Oak Management's name, where they would pay utilities in full, and the percentage breakdown. Phil, do you want to go over that?
Yeah, so we've had some good meetings, and we've got some good parameters from our commissioners that we've been working with behind the scenes, and we had a good meeting with Oak Management. They understood where we were and what we were asking for and where we were coming from. I think we've come to an agreement on the fiscal year 2020, last year's monies owed, and we'll be presenting what I think is a fair settlement for 2021 money owed. They will owe us at the end of September. These are not monies even owed yet, but 2021 is actually much worse for Oak Management than 2020. Since these are on fiscal years, 90% of their revenue last year, fiscal year 2020, was pre-pandemic. So their revenue numbers were a little skewed last year, whereas this year it's been 100% pandemic, and they've been closed most of the year, with just recently, as of last week, some light at the end of the tunnel to open these last few months of the year. But it's not a light switch where parties are just going to be in full swing July, August, September. So they're going to see significantly reduced revenues this year. Our contract does allow, because of the pandemic, to forgive some of these funds. So we're working with Corporation Counsel to propose an official amendment to their contract that would bring all of this debt up to speed. It would be approved by this Parks Commission in July is the goal, and then from there it would go to the Board of Commissioners committees and full board for approval of the debt forgiveness.
So Phil, you're suggesting that the July meeting will be voting on this?
Yes, my plan was to have it today, and just time ran out, but we've got our numbers together. I expect, I haven't talked to Jody yet. I don't know if she's still on the phone, but she's got the information to put together that amendment and reconvene our commissioner group to make sure we're all on the same page with what's being presented, and then move forward for a July approval at our meeting.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding that? I just want to say that Phil and Sue have done a fabulous job negotiating with Oak Management. We got them up a little bit as far as what they are willing to give us back. The other good news, I had a long conversation this morning with Chairman Woodward, and he's checking into the possibility of getting some of the federal American Rescue Plan money that would help offset our losses in those areas, as well as losses in our wave pools and so forth. So hopefully we won't be in too bad a shape if we can get that federal funding. So we're working on that. So we're just not sure if it meets the criteria. So we have to try and find out. Okay.
Jerry? Jerry?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Dave Vanderbeek here.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just going to add that this getting them on the utilities, I consider a real step forward. They're responsible for their own utilities. That way, we don't have to put money out and hope to get repaid. Sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
So I look at that as a very good step.
Yeah. And like I said, I think Phil and Sue have done a fabulous job. So, is there any other new business? The only thing I would like to pass out before we adjourn is to urge all of the board members, or at least the ones that are remaining here on the meeting, to use any social media you can and get the word out to local Facebook pages and so forth to see if we can get enough lifeguards to be able to open both wave pools. We've increased the wages on the wave pools a little bit. I wish we could give them a lot more, but unfortunately we can't. But I think it'll be important to try to get those parks open, both of them. So, Chris?
Gary, yeah, if you could go to your like the website of whatever school district you guys are in, and then just find the swim coach. That's what I'm trying to do. But man, Sue, you are right. That kid didn't even want to do a golf job. I tried to get him for Lion Oaks. My son was like, "Why don't you want to work? Why are you being so lazy? You love golf," and he didn't want the job. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe because of COVID still, but it is hard. But the swim coaches, if you can go to your school district and find the swim coaches and try to send them an email, that seems to be a good avenue, I think, directly to them. So,
yeah.
We do the lifeguard training, so they do not have to be certified. We will train them.
Who should,
Well, we
if,
can do that too, but I just thought maybe some of those swimmers, it's a perfect job for them, but.
Yeah.
who should we have them contact? I want to go to West Bloomfield and see, but who is it, Commissioner Long, or is it Ms. Wells?
They can contact.
Who should they contact?
They can
Contact Sue Wells or the Parks Department, and we'll lead them in the right direction.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Yolanda. I was going to say that Commissioners Bagley, Quarles, and myself probably already have been asked by our Parks and Rec in Southfield, do we know any people who could act in that capacity? So it seems like it's like industry wide. So I just say that to level set that it's a lot of people looking for lifeguards right now.
They had a news special report just last week on one of the channels, and it was all related to the shortage of lifeguards nationwide. They can't find enough people that are willing to do it. So I guess
But
we
Gary,
got to come up.
like Sue said too, it's like all the jobs, because I've just heard yesterday at a store, the lady said she was $17 an hour for teenagers, and she still can't get people. So it's everywhere. It's lifeguards, everything. It's just I don't know if it's going to change. I hope so. But it is. It's all right across the board for restaurant. Teams working. It's everywhere. It's going to be very hard. So I'm hoping it changes.
Yeah. Okay. With that, I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. So before we adjourn, I just want to hope to see all your smiling faces in my hometown here of Madison Heights. I can walk from here to the nature center. So, and I can't walk far because of my illnesses, but I look forward to seeing you on July 7th, and try to get there at noon if you can, so that you can make sure that you see all that we have down on the south end of the county. So, along with Catalpa, we probably won't see that that day, but hopefully we'll get there at some point. So with that, we adjourn. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Take care. Thank
you.
you. Goodbye.
This conference